from the beginning?
I don't think
Then
so, because we are not explaining. It's like all animation.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the technical flow. So after the KYC is done, then the data will be processing the data earlier on the off chain. That is, we are using an API that is compliant and approved and have the license from the Central Bank of India, that is RBI.
Could you pause for a moment?
Yes.
So this is in case somebody wants to mint the stable coin, right? And they deposited INR into your
Yes.
bank account, and then you automatically detect that and call this API that will issue the token. Yeah.
So yeah, this API will approve that okay, the KYC and everything, the data will be processed. After we have INRC, not INRC, EINR, that is CBDC or INR. So the data will be stored here. That okay, this is the transaction we received. For minting, so everything is going to be automated. So for minting INRC, the user has already deposited the CBDC or INR. So now
Okay. See, okay. I thought it was like cash being deposited in a bank account. Okay, so now it's clearer. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Okay. Now, yeah, just another question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that this API is approved by the central bank, right? I'm just
Yes.
curious to know what kind of requirements do they have for
So this
this?
is the API. Yeah, this is the payment aggregator. They do payment aggregation as well as they provide the API for payment as well as for KYC. So for the cash side or for the digital rupee side, so they have all the mandates, all the AML and KYC solutions. So when they process it, so that means we are securing the data in a manner that we don't have any fraudulent transactions or malicious transactions going through our platform.
Okay, so the central bank kind of audited your
Yes.
API.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
So after
Thanks.
like we process the data from here, then we call the smart contract. So calling a smart contract to mint INRC. So once we call the a smart contract, then INRC minted. Now we are like what the user can do with the INRC later on. This is the flow, like where the person can move those tokens that he minted or she minted. Now if the user is done with all the activities, now the person is looking to redeem INRC to INR or the CBDC. Now we again will call the smart contract. We'll burn the INRC, equal amount of INRC the person is redeeming. So So in this case, we have the third-party taxation service where if there's certain taxation in the Indian origin, that bit will be detected here at this juncture, and then after detection, the remaining amount, that is e-rupee or INR, will be withdrawn.
What kind of technology does the Indian CBDC use? Is it, I don't know, like for example, I know that Brazil is thinking of doing a CBDC using Hyperledger. At least that's the latest I have heard. Is like India using Hyperledger for its CBDC, or is it using something else?
Yeah, so initially they used the NPCI database and tech stack. So NPCI is the organization that innovated UPI in
The
India.
fast payment, right?
Yes. So UPI is very advanced. That's why the payment, like when it comes to crypto payments in India, they are still not that prevalent because of UPI. UPI is very flawless. So because
Yeah.
of UPI, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's like in Brazil. Brazil deployed. I'm Brazilian and Australian and Italian, and my wife is Russian. I'm currently in Russia, but I also live
Okay.
part of my Brazil, so I know a lot about Brazil. And yeah, Brazil has this peak system which got incredible adoption. So everybody's using peaks nowadays in Brazil, and I think it's similar to UPI. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So now after using that for pilot, they use for beta version. Now they are using their own blockchain. They're calling it RBI's blockchain, central bank blockchain. That means they're using their own servers. And by the way, other chains like Ethereum, Polygon, as well as Ripple, they are reaching out to central bank, and they just want that, okay, if they can use their chain for CBDC. But as of now, they are not showing any interest using public blockchain as of now.
Okay.
So this is the main concern when it comes to use case of CBDC for Web3 platform here.
Yeah, one risk for your stablecoin is if the central bank decided to start launching their CBDC directly right on Cardano. Yeah.
Yeah, on public Cardano or other public blockchain.
Yeah.
So then they might have so the use case around CBDC to INRC would be cut down. Then it would be INRC to INR to INRC, not CBDC to INR. But still, we have a lot of scope because right now their retail CBDC is not seeing good traction. So we'll be providing them a use case where the CBDC will be used for Web3 purpose as well. So this is one, and that's why we are a bit not that concerned when it comes to whether RBI will allow it or not, because we are acquiring all the licenses and registration in India. So that's the one thing that we are focusing on right now.
Is it standard banking licenses, or are there already some kind of new licenses specifically about dealing with CBDCs and stablecoins?
So as of now, the licenses around establish a company first, that one license. Then second license, we call it registration though. There is no certain stablecoin regulation as of now in India. So we call it FIU registration. So FIU is an existing agency that take care of money laundering, tax evasion cases. So it's kind of complying with them. So they do all the due diligence and provide you with the registration to operate within Indian jurisdiction. So that is one registration. After acquiring that, if I look to lend my INRC, or I want to say use my INRC for market making, For that, I have to acquire the lending license from RBI, central bank. For that, as of now, there is no certain regulation, but later on, there are chances we have certain regulation, then I can acquire that license. Still, I can acquire that license, but for CBDC that I'm holding, the user CBDC, I'm holding in my account, company account, I can use that for lending. So still there are two ways. Once we have the crypto side regulation, so we can also start lending INRC. But now, if we don't have that regulation, we still have the user CBDC. And in India, we can use 15 to 20% of user funds for operations. 80% of funds will be in central bank treasury, like USDC, like Circle does, in the same manner. As of now, when it comes to algorithm, like Djed did, for that is very government is not very happy with that as of now, because they yet to understand the collateral or INR pegged stable coin. If we provide with them like algorithm one, they would be blank. They won't understand it.
Yeah. So about the 80% and 20%, like in a stable coin like USDC, right? They will take that 20% and invest in some bonds, for example, right?
Yeah.
And
So
then and then they earn some interest, and with that interest, they fund their operations. Now, in your case, the reserve is in CBDC, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to convert those 20% of those CBDCs in government bonds, or are you able to receive interest rates directly on the CBDC?
So as of now, there's no interest rate on CBDC because still at the very early and nascent stage. So as of now, they are not providing any interest. But if we start lending of CBDC, for example, lending of CBDC and providing users, also the existing users, providing them some sort of interest or APR, also lending the CBDC, say for 5% or 6% of interest rate, that is lower than the other banks. They charge around 8, 9, and till 15%. So half of it. So people will take interest. So then another use case for CBDC.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you want to let's say lend 20% of the CBDCs directly to retail users or to institutional?
Yeah, it could be institutions. Yeah, it could be retail. It could be institution. But we are focusing if once we have the INRC lending license, INRC lending license would be for institutions, for market makers, for Web3 projects who are raising at early stage.
Okay.
So again, I'll share my website.
Yeah,
So I'll show you other use cases. Yeah, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's the first actual stable coin backed by CBDC that I see. And it's interesting. I had thought about this use case before, right? Especially like seeing central banks developing CBDCs in their own chains, right? It's a natural thought, okay, people will have to create stable coins that are backed by CBDCs so that these CBDCs become usable in the various blockchains that exist out there, right? Like it's like a use case that I predicted, and it's nice to see it happening, you know.
Yeah. So I tell you, yeah,
because
you're right.
like back then when I predicted this kind of use case, people were saying things like, once CBDCs are launched, there's no point of stable coins anymore, you know, because people will just use the CBDCs. And well, this is the case if the CBDCs are launched natively on the various blockchains, right? But if central banks follow this approach of launching CBDCs in their own chains, then stable coins continue to be necessary.
Yeah, that is true. So for me, what exactly happened, I used to work with an exchange, centralized exchange, back in 2021. And around that time, Indian government announced 30% taxation on crypto. And all the users, they started
Is this still true, by the way, or not anymore?
no, it still
Yes.
it still is here, 30% taxation on crypto profits.
Okay.
So then I thought that the reason that RBI given that crypto is doing the dollarization of Indian economy. That means crypto is making an INR rupee weaker. So then it struck in my mind why we are buying and selling all these US dollar backed stable coins. We should focus on INR. At least we can somewhere like cut down that dollarization at front side and make more use cases around INRC. So I tried to do it with INR backed. Then government announced their pilot program with CBDC. Then it struck in my mind a couple of years back, I should also provide a use case for CBDC. So then I picked CBDC as a primary and secondary INR. Earlier it was INR. So then I presented it with to the VCs in India. Bangalore city is a tech city. I went to some VCs. They said, hey, listen, RBI will ban it on the first day. Don't even try to do it. They will put you in jail. I was afraid. I said, okay. So I took a backstay. I took a back seat and say, okay, let me rethink about it, how to do. Then again, I revisited and I consulted with some person who worked with NPCI and UPI. And I presented, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to produce one more use case for CBDC. Will RBI like it or not? They say, hey, listen, RBI is struggling to provide more retail use case for CBDC. And this is one of the use case that you can provide. They will be happily accepting it. That gave me some motivation. And this is how I started last year, early last year, uh, developing on top of it. So this is the story behind it. There is a lot of back and forth, but still in work.
So you mentioned other blockchains as well, right? Are you going to deploy your stablecoin only on Cardano or also on the other blockchains?
So it is going to be a multi-chain, as mostly USDC is working, but primarily I'm focusing on Cardano because I'm Cardano native. So my focus mostly on Cardano. So I didn't took much funds from Project Catalyst. It was minimum 95K I took last year. And I'm utilizing that. I hired 3 developers and a website designer. I'll also show you the website quickly. So this is the website we created. As of now, we don't have much of activities here. We yet to integrate things, but we have started whitelisting of users so they can come and join us as of now. Rest, we have created a fundamental website so people can come and understand what we are building as of now. So it's INR backed stablecoin, 101 pegging, providing a use case to CBDC. What are the businesses gonna use INRC? So businesses like exchanges, market maker, Web3 platforms. So opportunities for even bigger institutions, for example, Geo. So recently Polygon collaborated with Geo. I'm also talking to Polygon. So after Cardano, I'll be building on Polygon. So Polygon is having some sort of roots in India, and that's why they did the biggest partnership in the Web3, I think yesterday, with Geo, Reliance Geo, and they have 450 million users on their platforms. So that could be one partnership that I can crack later on for my stablecoin. And obviously for retailers, it's going to be very useful because right now, if you see around USDT and USDC, people are paying one USDC, they are paying around 92 INR. And if you see the real exchange rate with USD is around 86. And we are paying somewhere 8% to 12% during volatility extra. So USDC and USDT are not compliant in India. And that's why people are paying premium price for the same. That's why India is on the top when it comes
Difference
to.
is so much. Yeah, that's
That's why. Yeah,
that's
yeah. So this is
incredible.
what.
But I should
Yes.
move to
Yeah.
because I'm currently in Russia, and here in Russia, people also pay a premium for USDT, and this is good for me because I part of the money I earn is in USDT, right? And then I sell it for rubles for a premium. So
Yes.
my USDT is worth more here in Russia than it would be, let's say, in the United States, right? But it seems that it would be worse. It would be worth even more in India, right? So maybe I should move to India.
Yeah, that's true. So you're earning around 8 to 10% premium. So that's why mostly from people from Dubai, from abroad, they are sending their USDT and USDC in India to earn that premium rates. So also there's a lot of scams happening for the same peer-to-peer scams in India. So because USDC and USDT, Tether and Circle, they are not compliant in India. So they are not providing any information to the cyber security police or cyber cell or any law agencies. So they are struggling to manage how to crack those scams. So we are going to fix a lot of loopholes using INRC. And this is the roadmap looks like. We launched our website in last year. Also, light paper started building the team. We have already started working on Solidity smart contract. The next would be on Cardano. We'll be building Cardano smart contract. Infra in making KYC.
Do you already have devs that can develop Cardano
Yes.
smart contracts?
So for that I'm just looking to hire devs. Once I finish my project catalyst milestone, that will be done this month. Then maybe in February and March I'll be looking to hire smart contract developer for Cardano. And then infra and KYC and CBD integration would be one of the last thing. And then we'll be going multi-chain. And as I mentioned, the partnership thing that we'll be looking at. So this is the kind of roadmap we have.
Nice. Yeah, you also mentioned dollarization, right? So I have first a question related to that. What is the current the base interest rate in India?
Banking interest rates?
Yeah.
So when it comes to banking, if you are depositing your fund in a saving account, you are receiving 7 to 8%. This is banks giving to you. When it comes to you are borrowing from banks, for example, home loans, they starts from 9%, goes to 10 to 11%. But if you're,
for example, you as a company, if you buy the safest treasury bonds, how much can you get?
okay, so for that, if I'm buying the treasury bonds, then there are chances I can earn from 4% to 6%. It ranges, depends how the central bank is announcing the rate cuts and rate increase. But it's ranging somewhere, like if I see the data from the last 5 to 10 years, it's ranging from 4% to 6%.
Okay, yeah.
It's more than what we earn.
For operators of fiat-backed or CBDC-backed stable coins, it's better to peg them and to back them by currencies that are more inflationary, right? That have a higher interest rate, because then you receive more, right, to fund your operations. Like if you're like Circle or Theta and your reserves on your ESD, and you are obliged to invest those reserves in very safe treasury bonds, and you get only 1 or 2%
Yes.
from that, then you need a lot of TVL, right? You need a lot of reserves to be able to fund your operations.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
if you are operating with a currency like INR or BRL or rubles, ruble is currently at 20%, I think. So
Yeah,
it's easier to get enough interest to fund your operations. But then at the same time, it's also because of this inflation, right? That there is this demand for USD. It's partially because of that there is this demand for USD pegged and backed stable coins, right? And this causes this dollarization as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, you are right there. So, for example, but I believe that once we see that boom like China, so everyone is calling India is going to be next China. So we see that in future, even the INR rupee would be more resilient if we compare, for example, peso, what happened in Argentina, what happened in Nigeria, and what happened with ruble, or even JPY, what happened with that. So Indian INRC is more resilient if we compare to other countries' currency.
Yeah, there's definitely potential for that, right? Economically, but there must also be responsibility from the government, right? They need to resist the urge to print money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So for me, it's like one of it cases like a stable coin kind of a narrative right now. I'm providing a separate genre in stable coin segment that is CBDC backed. So maybe I am one of the players who are starting with this initiative. So I'm just giving it a try, whether I'm gonna fail or not. But I'm following a path which is very secure when it comes to acquiring license, not running business without compliance. So I'm giving it a try. So hopefully, but my question around Cardano smart contracts, and when it comes to, you discussed about the freezing funds, so it's not possible on Cardano, and we know it's good for users that they have all freedom to use their funds without getting their funds stuck in on-chain wallet or off-chain custody. So what are your thoughts when it comes to USDC and USDT? Is the reason they are not coming on Cardano?
Yeah, coincidentally, just a few hours ago, I wrote a message about this in the Discord server of the Stability Nexus. I don't know if you have seen it there, but yeah, so
I have to
somebody
check.
shared the research. Yeah, when they asked for $25,000 in Catalyst funding, and they got it to do a research about what people were thinking about having USDC and USDT on Cardano. So, like you mentioned, that you got what 26,000, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not 26, 96. You said, right?
Yeah,
96,000.
95, but yeah, but that time it was lesser. The first half
Yeah.
I received is by
So
like
you got 96,000 ADA, right?
yes.
Yeah. So in this case of this research, I don't know if it was 25,000 ADA or $25,000 in ADA, but still, it was a lot of money, to do some very irrelevant research, that would have been just better spent on projects like yours or mine, right?
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, and this research was asking lots of entities that operate on Cardano what they think about USDT, USDC, and somebody shared the results of this research in Discord yesterday, and I
Yeah.
said, yeah, this research is a bit irrelevant because, yeah, I think I mentioned 4 reasons there, and one of them was this technical issue, right? That tokens are not freezable in
Yeah.
Cardano. But I have heard that I remember seeing a recent, but not so recent, message from Sebastian Guillemot
Okay.
in Twitter, where he claimed that now there are some workarounds on how to freeze assets on Cardano. And yeah, I can imagine how they might be, but I think they would be a bit cumbersome, and not very elegant.
Yeah.
I think there's still no native solution for freezing assets, actually. So I don't know if
Right.
you know, but
Right.
person who designed native assets for Cardano. And so it's part of my fault that assets cannot be frozen. Well, depending on your philosophical inclinations, you could say it's my merit that I didn't make the assets freezable, or my fault that I didn't make the assets freezable. But
now I know who the person behind it. Who to blame? My USDC is not on Cardano. Bruno is the guy.
So my first design and the one that got implemented is like this, right? Cardano native assets are not freezable. But even before it was implemented, I started advocating internally in IRHK for extending my design to have, like my design had minting policies, right? That would establish how the tokens can be minted or burnt as well. And I wanted to extend that design with what I was calling a spending policy. Right. And then through the spending policy, it would be possible to freeze the assets, right? But I didn't manage to convince everyone internally there. And then also I started working on some other projects there. So that's how it happened that Cardano ended up with non-freezable assets. Yeah.
So I can make it public on Cardano spot. Say, found the person who is behind why USDC and USDT not on Cardano. Who to blame?
Yeah, but like if you're the kind of crypto anarchist, who thinks that crypto should be anti-government and untraceable and private and so on, then this is a feature, not a bug. I'm not an extreme in any direction, like I would have preferred to have these spending policies to give developers and users the freedom of choice, right? And then there could be tokens that are unfreezable and others that are freezable, and people would use whatever they want.
So what are the possibility to enable that feature again? You discussed that Sebastian was talking about some features they are now enabling.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what Sebastian had in mind in that message, and I would have to contact him. But yeah, I don't know, like things have evolved a bit since I stopped working on this aspect of Cardano. So I don't know what kind of workarounds are possible nowadays to circumvent that. I remember that, besides my proposal of having a spending policy, some colleagues of mine also suggested having for each UTXO, not a single UTXO spending script, but more than one. And that would be a solution as well, right? Because one of the scripts could be whatever the user wants, and the other script could be something that is controlled by the issuer of the token. So that was another solution that was briefly considered. Yeah.
Okay, understood.